Hi, guys. Welcome back to Bar Exam. I'm your friend and host, Allie Rayner, and I'm here with the Bar Exam crew. We got Mr. Marcus TV in the building. What's up, Marcus?
What up? What up?
What's up? And then we also have Mr. Eric G with us as well. What's up, Eric?
What's up, y'all?
Well, this week, coming for the bar, we are talking about the performers with the best stage presence. So that could be, a concert. It could be an award show. It could be even like maybe you saw them at a small pop-up event or something like that. So it doesn't have to be just a huge concert. It can be a few different ways that you've seen these artists. For me, starting off the list, I would have to say I was pleasantly surprised by going to Future's concert. I thought, like, it was years ago, I was in college. I thought it was really dope because I even brought some friends along who weren't actual Future fans, but it was something about, like, at the time he was having like a really big moment. I think it was like around I think maybe Dirty Sprite had just come out or was about to come out, something like that. And so he was having a really big run. And I think that it was just like the energy. He really was good about crowd participation. That's a big thing that I feel like a lot of artists are missing nowadays. But he was actually someone I thought was really good. The concert was dope. But then I saw him recently, probably like a year or two in LA, and it was just a small club appearance. And to be honest, it's so different when you don't have like the pyrotechnics and the DJ, like the DJ who's like full on MC, it's a lot different when you don't have all those huge like show elements. And like his energy was totally different. It wasn't bad, but it almost kind of felt like he was obligated. Like he was like, all right, they already broke me off a bunch of money. I've been running around all fucking day. I'm gonna do like 2 songs, 3 songs, and I'm gonna cut the fuck up out of here. And that's basically what happened. He wasn't like jumping up on the table like I've seen other artists do at that same place. He wasn't even, I think he was literally like in a corner near the DJ, and like he wasn't really trying to be seen. It was like you knew he was there, but shit, they could have put his song on and you would have known. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But his concert was lit. Have you guys had any, similar situations or experiences with artists that you thought, maybe it's the environment, maybe not so much even them, their stage, presence?
For sure. I think so. Going back for me, I can name that just because of the different amount of times that I've seen this artist live, and the different years that I've seen him live, because I've seen him live a couple of different eras since he's been out. So I've seen Travis Scott live maybe, I want to say maybe 5 or 6 times, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the first time I saw him live was on his tour with Metro Boomin and Young Thug. So this is very early on in his career. This is like around like 2014, 2015, around that era. So before his debut album even came out. And then I saw him again when he had his Astroworld run.
Okay.
So when I saw him again live, this is like a couple of years removed, and
Mm-hmm.
this is also right around the time that like he's kind of going on this like really really crazy run. Like right around the time that that album came out, that was kind of when he was basically at his peak. And I did
Mm-hmm.
also see him a time before that too, when Birds in the Trap was out. So I've seen him live in all of these various different venues and different atmospheres, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
from the small club setting all the way to the big stage in where the Phoenix Suns play. And the difference between the two is really crazy because you see the like he still gives the same amount of energy that he does in every performance. That's what one thing that I can say about him consistently is that the energy and the amount of work that you can tell that he puts into his live show, like it's you get your money's worth when you go see a Travis Scott show live. So
Mm-hmm.
you definitely see that, but to see the progression from him doing it in small venues to basically him having like a full-blown roller coaster in on one of his tours. It's like absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So I think we sometimes look at artists and don't really get to catch the full journey of the full stage performance that they've been on, because a lot of these guys have been in the game for years. Like the Jay-Z's, the Beyonce's, the Kanye's that we look at. Like we've seen their stage shows in progression, but we mostly only tend to think of like what they're doing in the current run. Whereas guys like Travis, you can kind of trace it back to not that long ago and see how much progression has been done in a shorter amount of time. So I think it's one of the things that has made his strengths so strong throughout his artistry, throughout his whole career process, is that he really cares about his live show, and he's gonna make sure that every single one is an A plus, if not better, knock it out the ballpark. So
Yeah, I can say every time I see Travis pop up, especially when it comes to like his performances, I'm always thinking it's about to be over the top. You know what I mean? It's about to be a lot of energy. And unfortunately, what sucks about it is that like it's this weird like bittersweet thing where like that is what made him so lit, you know, especially to like the younger crowd. They want to mosh pit, they want to like go crazy, you know, they want to be a little bit extra, and his music allows him to do that. Whereas like you know, especially with him being a rapper, like not a lot of, you know, artists, especially rappers, give you that vibe if they're not like a punk rock or something like that. So I think it's just so sad how like people would go and still go straight or go to his concerts and his performances just for that energy, to do something different, be able to be someone different kind of for the night. But it's sad because it ended up that one Astro World you know, night, that one tragic event. I think it was like they were in Texas or something like that. And it was like, it was just too many people. People were falling on top of each other and it was a chain reaction. And that is a real thing. I remember I went to T-Pain's, he had this like, him and Steve Aoki had this like really random but very fucking cool pop-up event in Cleveland, and they basically like shut down a street. So like during the day it was like a different event, and then at night it was just like the street was blocked off just for T-Pain and Steve Aoki's concert, and it was a lot of fucking fun. But the one thing I do remember is how tightly packed they had us in like this certain area, and it was really fucking crazy because like there was a whole sea of people, right? And then on the other side of like the gate, there was all this space for people, like a ton of space that you could actually stand in, but it was more for like the reserve, you know, like I guess it was supposed to be like, you know, you're supposed to have a certain ticket or whatever. Well, I bum rushed my way up there because at the time, the bar that I was working at, the security guards were the security for that event. So I was like, wait a minute, is that Steve? Oh shit. So then like I'm trying to get through the crowd. And when I tell you, like, it was shoulder to fucking shoulder. I was like really uncomfortably close to people like that I never would have been that close to. And people were like pissed that I was trying to get me and my friends to the crowd, even though I clearly knew someone. They were like, fuck that shit. So I can totally understand that feeling of like claustrophobia, of like a ton of people around you. You know, they're excited, they don't give a fuck about you, you know what I mean? They just want to see the show, they just want to be up front. So I totally get that. But it's so sad because like you go to concerts for that energy, you know what I mean? You know that there's going to be other people there, but you're not thinking it's going to go left like it did at his concert or at Travis Scott's concert. But what's also interesting about it is that for a lot of other artists, that would have killed their career. And he is still out here. Like, he's still pushing. He still has the lawsuits going, but that hasn't stopped him. Like, most people would have gone under a rock and never come the fuck back out. But he's out here, you know? So I will also applaud that. Like you were saying, Eric, that there's going to be a lot of different points of the journey. You know what I mean? And I'm sure there's no artist that thinks that something crazy like that is going to happen. But the great thing about it is that we can learn, right? And so I think that he's trying to learn, or his team is trying to learn. And it also made a lot of other artists actually pay attention to the audience and the safety measures so that this doesn't happen again, you know? So I think that, you know, it's a good thing, right? Like it's good for audience members and people who are going to become, or the crowd, you know, fans, but it's also good, a good learning and a teaching moment for artists to realize like that stuff is important, you know. So not just getting hype, but also having good security at your event can completely determine your night, right? So right,
yeah,
so
absolutely. The security your event, you know, it's like a referee at any sporting event. If they do their job correctly, you never know that they were there. But if
yeah,
it's a referee and it's a blown call, now all of a sudden the focus is on the referee, and you know, how did they miss that call? How did he do, you know, this? But if you're at an event and everything is secure and everybody moves how they're supposed to move, you don't even fucking notice security. You know, so like the concerts that I've been to, so we'll just say small, medium, and large. You know, the small concerts are the club bookings, you know, that are city to city. They're always, you know, an intimate feel. It's always like, you know, these are the fans that really fuck with me. These are the people who came out to support me. These are the people who, if I hold the mic out like this, they're gonna sing every word. I don't have to do the ad libs. You know, the crowd is going to help me out and get me through that performance. You know, on like what Travis does, because every time you seen Travis, Eric, he's always been at a festival, right?
Every time except the first time.
So, and I don't think Travis does bookings like that anymore. I don't think he does small venues.
No,
You know,
he's a big tour
there's
that
no
he's got
way.
going now.
Yeah, there's never. I remember because you know that was the whole thing too with club promotions and artists. You couldn't even book everyone or had access to everyone. So if Jay-Z after the Best of Both Worlds tour, I don't think Jay-Z has done anything but arenas. You couldn't book, like he wasn't doing a pop, like if it wasn't a festival, or he was never doing a club appearance after the R. Kelly tour. Like that was arenas only. You know, that was his transit. And Travis, I think, is the same way, where he's only doing festivals. So he had to come back. You know, he couldn't necessarily backtrack and say, you know, I got to work my way back up. Well, how can I make this festival better? How can I make Rolling Loud better? How can I make this, you know, Coachella, you know, these big festivals safer and better? Because that's the only thing he's doing. And that's his show money, you know, whereas shit, Finesse 2 Times ain't in no arena.
right.
Ain't nobody coming to see a packed full arena of Finesse 2 Times. That's not.
I don't even want to see that crowd, to be honest.
But that's another thing too. You got to look at the crowds. So, how many times has someone came to your city, and because of the club where they were booked at, you could have been a legit stand type of fan, but you like, I'm not fucking with that venue because the what we just talked about, the security, the fucking parking lot, who's gonna be, and then it's always a tax. Like the ticket might be $40 to $60, but then it's the section you got to get into. Then somebody's in your section because they paid $2,000, and then we'll give you your money back. No, I don't want my money back. I want my 4 seats that I had and that I did in Vit, whatever I got. We sorry, we did. You know, they gave us $5,000, and you know, the money talks, and promoters get greedy, get hung. You know, all the rest of this. So, I mean, I particularly like small and medium venues. I don't like festivals because of what you just said. You know, it's too much. Like that tight. Like I will never. And I did security myself, so even being in a fucking pit for the first, and it was when I was in a pit, it was it was rock bands, and those weren't even hip hop acts. Them shits is crazy.
Yeah,
like. When I say this dude was in a fucking like a tank top, some shorts, in some regular shoes, and you know he was in the mosh pit and he got his ass whooped in the mosh pit. I had to go down and get him out of the mosh pit. We get him out the mosh pit. We got to take him back to make sure he's okay. I'm like, so I got to fill out all this paperwork. This motherfucker had $40 in his ID wrapped up in his sock, and I was like, why the fuck is your ID and shit in your sock with 40? He was like, this is so, you know, I was in the pit. I didn't want to lose it. Like you have some kind of presence of mind, knowing that I'm gonna be rolling around in this and shit's gonna fall out of my pocket and this, that, and the third. He was like, I ain't have any sharp objects on me. I just had my ID and cash. And he was happy, bloodied and dirty and shit and all.
And that's the craziest thing about it is that, like, it's so crazy to see how that whole mosh pit culture has now moved its way to hip hop. Like, I honestly, like, you know what, when they say like on the bingo card of life, like, I didn't expect that one. Honestly, I never expected that one for sure. You know, I thought like white kids are going to become big fans of hip hop and it's going to become more and more prevalent. Like, you saw that trend, but I swear I never thought that we would be at a place where, you know, hip hop artists are basically like making music that fans are going to mosh to, you know. And I've met a few, like I've had like, a few family members, you know, acquaintances that like their kids or whatever tell me like, yeah, I'm about to go to like so-and-so's concert. I can't wait to get in the pit. And I'm like, what? Aren't you going to a hip hop artist concert? Like, what are you talking about? It's crazy. So I think it's very interesting how the culture is moving. Also, because we are talking about live performances, and because Marcus, you mentioned it, but you didn't tell us who was your favorite performance. I gotta know.
So my favorite performance was early on. We had a skating rink here called the Palace, and the fucking Yin Yang Twins performed at the Palace. And it was one of those like, oh my God, like the Yin Yang Twins are coming. And this was when the wait till you see my name. Oh, like, so we were like, oh shit, want to see the Yin Yang Twins. So the Yin Yang Twins, and this is gonna sound crazy, they had a DJ, White Mike. I'll never forget White Mike. White Mike was, when we talk about DJs and pure DJs and, you know, crates and could do the tricks and everything, White Mike made that show. Like when they talk about how the DJs and the artists work seamlessly together, and you know because the go down the rabbit hole, they'll say the DJ used to be in the front of the stage, and then as artists transition in the era, the DJ was moved to the back of the stage. This was the DJ was in the front of the stage era, and White Mike made the show, had the cuts, like he made the show. And
he was like really a part of the performance.
He was part of the performance. Like they had cues, they knew what they was gonna do. Think about your mix show, you know, with the air horns and like all of his buttons were like it was part of the show. It just wasn't kind of freestyle or like, oh yeah, we just gonna hype the crowd up and then bring out the artist. Nah, Yin Yang Twins, White Mike was the best live performance that I saw. And I was young too, so I was in the front row, you know, because I was a teenager and shit. So I was there for that performance. And the Yin Yang Twins clown, like, had one of the more memorable performances that I can remember.
That's dope. That's awesome. I'm very jealous.
Love
I
that.
can't even lie. That sounds like one of those, like, you know, once in a lifetime kind of things, especially because White Mike was there. Also, really quick, I remember we had talked about White Mike. Did we ever talk about Jelly Roll? Because did y'all see he won that Grammy or something? And I think he got
best new artist on the Country Music Awards.
Yes. And he started off like after he said it. He said like shout out. I guess he said something about, I don't know if it was in that performance, but I remember him at some point he was saying that like shout out to White Mike, 3 6 Mafia, I think Eminem too, or something like that. Like he had said that, you know, like they helped him become the artist that he is today. And it's crazy to now see him in country, but like he still gives them their props. So just because we were talking about White Mike, I had to mention that because Jelly Roll's having a moment right now.
So after seeing that, I can honestly say right now, Jelly Roll is what we thought Post Malone would be.
Ah, okay.
Like like jelly, like even the image, like what is it?
Hip hop, he still does country, right? Isn't
He
it
still
mostly?
does, but you know, he transit, but you see how he gave homage to hip hop and like saying, "Oh yeah, shout out at the country, 3-6 and all these people." Whereas Post was like, he shitted on hip hop and was like, "I just did that just because that's what they just gave me a check, and this is what I really want to do." And it was like you literally see the difference in it, and that's why, like, to this day, I don't fuck with Post Malone, but you know.
Yeah, I mean that's fair though, because a lot of people feel that way about him, you know. But we've had that whole debate before, so
Right.
we won't even jump down that rabbit hole. But that's a fair point.
But I do want to see Jelly Roll perform.
Me too.
Yeah,
Me too.
I definitely want to. I will go see a Jelly Roll show. I really would.
Me too, actually, and especially if he were to do some dope shit, you know, like bring out, you know, some of the old members, some of his old friends, and stuff like that. That would be amazing. So I would definitely pop up for that. So we've talked about some of our most favorite, our most beloved, you know, hip hop artists or whatever who had great stage performance, but I wanted to actually talk to you guys also about the future of, like, I guess, stage, like, performances and live in-person performances with artists, just because I've been hearing a lot of people have this conspiracy theory that because of AI, that they're afraid that, well, actually not even that they're afraid. They're more concerned that, one, that AI will make it harder for artists to make music. But what they're saying, the one good thing from AI is that it will allow the in live performance to be more of a commodity, because you know you'll actually want to see the person perform it and not be like, you know, is this person AI? You know, like I want to see a human. I don't want to hear something that is like fake or watch something that's like AI generated, you know? So what do you guys feel about that? I think some people would say, no, we're going to see a lot more AI performances, whereas other people are saying, no, you're going to see the ticket prices on concerts go up because there's going to be more of a demand on it.
I think it's about how, I think the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I think there's a way that you can do both. That's why, I mean, that's why artists have a sound check. You know, there's a way, you know, the old show disc, you know, when rappers would come in and actually have a show disc, was your Pro Tools session or your studio session, and your vocals were at 35%. Your vocals weren't muted, but they just weren't as loud as the track playing behind them. Like that was your actual show disc, or the chorus and the hook would come through full blast because you needed to catch your breath on the show disc, or you know, you seamlessly move into your show. Back when Diddy was telling, you know, Danny B. Kane, hey, y'all need to get y'all show together, because he wanted y'all to actually perform the show, you know. Whereas now you can just play, they'll say, go to my artist page and play the song, and then just give me the mic. That's fucking karaoke. That's not a show. So will technology aid or hinder, you know, the laziness of artists now, or the convenience, or whatever you want to call it? But there's a way, because guess what? Beyonce is singing songs. And then you also got to think of the audience too. If you're filming, if your crowd is there to see the show versus you're filming the show for a production value or a DVD or something later on down the road, I fully anticipate your vocals to be on point, because editing, you know, that's your production value. So if you popping and cracking on the mic and this, that, and the third, the end product is going to be trash. So I mean, it's kind of like we talked about too. What venue are we seeing these artists perform? Because as much as I love the strip club, anybody booked at a strip club to perform, it's not a show that I want. That's not even a show. That's them standing on a couch singing a song, and the whole crowd is already like, that's not a show. And
I don't consider that a show either.
Yeah, you can't judge anybody off of that. Like that, like, oh yeah, I saw him, and like, no, that wasn't a show that you went to go see and participate.
Even really a club appearance isn't a show either. Like, you know how like they like will show up at like the after party to like perform like a few songs and then get out of there. Like, I don't consider that a show either.
No, I don't consider it a show, but I do say, it's a performance. It's a live performance of some kind, right? So, and then because, they do it a lot of times because, hey, you don't know me, you haven't seen my shit yet, so
Right.
like I don't need to do a whole big shebang. Like, let me throw up like my best hits, sing to them a little bit, and then get the fuck out. Because a lot of times, like I was saying earlier about that Future thing, he was there for the bag. You could tell he was not there for like artist education or artist development or
Right.
dropping a new album. He was like, these fools and called me up, about a month ago. I said yes. They've cut the check, and now I actually got to show the fuck up. But I thought what was interesting too is that at that same location, I've seen what's her name? Doja Cat. Doja Cat performed there. And it was really funny because to see the night and day of like, she actually was still a great performer even then, but people didn't know who the fuck she was. Like, literally, she was still more of like this underground. I think Juicy had just come out. That one song, Keep It Juicy, Juicy. I keep it, some shit like that. She had that, and people were still like, who the fuck is this? But at the end of her performance, she had like jumped up on the fucking on the how like DJs have like that stand in the club or whatever. She jumped up on top of that bitch, and she's like being super animated, and I think she won over a lot of people because when she left, everyone's like, who is that? Let me follow her. Who the fuck? Like she really got the crowd going, and I think a lot of times that's the goal with those. It's not always about the check, where as Future you could tell that's what it was about. But like Doja Cat, it was artist development. It was awareness, just getting herself out there. It wasn't a full production, but it worked. I think it really worked. If you got energy.
Yeah, you got to have energy, and let's also remember mix shows where they would have acapella versions of the song, so you can mix it in the mix show. I've seen artists do their acapellas on the show, and that shit was wild. Like Remy Ma did her acapella to her song with Lean Back, and then went into her verse again with the track on stage. She did her same verse twice. She did it acapella once, and then she did it with the track. And I was like, this is a dope act. Remy has a dope show.
Mm-hmm. That's dope. That is dope, especially for Remy, because she doesn't play when it comes to her bars. So
Nah.
on.
This is also Remy before that.
When is music gonna stop? So I'm sure that was definitely a performance. But yeah, so you guys don't think that because we do have AI and stuff like that, you don't think that like ticket prices are going to be higher because it's going to be more of a commodity, or not?
So I think it will be more of a commodity, but only dependent on the way that rap performances continue to shape in the future. Because right now, I don't really necessarily think that AI, as far as live shows, is the issue. I think right now the biggest issue, as far as rap performances, I think it's a mix of two things. I think the first thing is that the big rappers are not selling out big arenas anymore. That's the first thing. Okay. We kind of saw this a little bit happen with Lil Baby earlier this year. I want to say Lil Durk had some issues selling out arenas. Like the big mainstream rappers, unless you're a J. Cole, a Drake, Kendrick, like, and I know I just named the big three, but unless you're one of the big three, or like somebody that's close to that level, like a Travis, 21 Savage, like somebody like that, like you're not really gonna sell these arenas out at this current stage. Like that's just not where it's gonna be. You might be able to sell out the amphitheaters and things like that, where the seats are around like 10,000 capacity, but places where they're having basketball games and stuff like that and football games, like they're not selling those arenas out. So I think that is,
I think they could if artists were realistic. Like I think the problem is that artists don't want to drop their prices realistically. It's because like because their lifestyle hasn't really changed too much. Like they're all rich, they're all still doing Hollywood shit, and you know what I'm saying, all of that. But like your average person, your average person who's buying the ticket to come see you is not making that much money right now. You know what I'm saying? The majority of the country's broke. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's those things too. It's like the average person just can't keep up with the price of the show. So it's not that they can't sell out the arena; it's that they can't sell out the arena at a price point of $300 a ticket. You know what I'm saying? Only
it's the age of the
Beyonce
art.
can do that right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What was her shit? 300 or 500 or something crazy.
Yeah.
But only she can do that. You know what I'm saying? Most people are not in that position. Drop your ticket prices. I bet you can fill up some of these arenas.
You got a good
Also,
point.
the other thing that I just thought about now that you just said that is that the other thing is that they're trying to do it a lot of it like off the strength of their own name. And while a lot of people like Lil Baby, just seeing him by himself, that's not enough to go out and spend that amount of money. Now,
Yeah.
if you link him up with a Lil Durk, with a
Great.
with a 2C, I'm just throwing names out there, but
Okay.
just whoever. Like if you link him up with a couple of people, like kind of like how Wiz does every year when he goes on tour over the summer and he brings like 5 or 6 artists out every year. If you do it like that, then you're kind of guaranteed to sell out damn near on every run, because even if they don't want to, because even if they're not going just to see you, they're going to see one of the other artists on that bill at least. And then and if they like you enough to stick around, then that's even better.
Right.
But I think that's one of the microcosm issues of it. I think the second thing, which was something that I kind of saw floating around, and I think it kind of holds to a bigger conversation rather than just the live performance aspect. But I think in our conversation here, I think the live performances that we're seeing right now are getting a little oversaturated as far as the types that we're seeing. I think that we kind of alluded to it earlier, but I think a lot of the mosh pit style of performing is kind of starting to lose its shine a little bit. I think it was cool when it first started, and I think it got carried to a certain point, and I think coincidentally after we just talked about the Travis thing, I think that was one of the main things that kind of made people kind of look at that aspect of live performances from rappers in a different light. And while it still happens, while we still see a bunch of crazy stuff on social media all the time, it's not the main focus of what people are wanting to see nowadays. And I think that Alchemist and Tyler recently were brought up on Complex in this article that I saw, and basically Alchemist and Earl Sweatshirt were having a conversation on this web series called Goat Talk, and one of the questions was, what's one of the worst trends in rap right now? And Alchemist straight up said that rappers who don't even bother rapping without backing vocals. And right there, he says rapping over your fucking lyrics on stage. I don't know who started this. Like, I'm just going to say, like, I want to hear your voice. You're an entertainer. Take your vocals out of the beats and rap on the beats, for Christ's sake. So I think that, and then on the next page, Tyler, basically, he saw this and he ended up agreeing with it and ended up leaving a comment on Instagram, and basically said, and folks who say people are good performers because it's a bunch of sweaty kids jumping up and down but the artist isn't actually giving a performance. 808s and heavy low end does not mean good performance. Same with just being able to rap every word. That can be boring and not entertaining. So I think that they bring up some very interesting points in this conversation, because a lot of it does stem from the fact that we've kind of been oversaturated with seeing the same thing, and we haven't really been brought back to the essence of what makes a good rap performance. Speaking of Wiz, I remember when I saw Wiz live a couple of years ago out here. And one of the things that made Wiz such a great performer was that he had no backing vocals, but he knew every single word of the song that he was rapping to. He knew certain cues on when to let the audience sing along with him. He knew when to get hype with the crowd and let the music speak for itself without him having to rap the entire lyrics of the song. Like, he knew the perfect ways to incorporate every part of that into a show. And I think a lot of times today we see rappers either trying to basically hone in on one thing. And a lot of it right now is that energy aspect. I need to be energetic so the audience is giving me the same energy, but then half the time they don't even care about the lyrics that they're rapping. Or half the time they'll just rap the ad libs. No diss to Playboy Cardi fans out there, just saying. But that seriously, that can be what it turns into. So I think that they bring up some interesting points there where rappers, a lot of the new rappers especially, have kind of lost the essence of what it means to have an actual good rap performance.
And after hearing that, like the way you just explained it, Moneybagg Yo had a fantastic show. Moneybagg, like, he actually performed. He was, the same way that you just described. He knew the same way you just described Wiz. Moneybagg had a wonderful show, worked, left to right, had the whole crowd there, and it was a smaller venue it was a medium-sized venue, so I think it's all about the artist too, and how you want to, and who books you, certain promoters have their name attached to an artist as well, that they don't want to throw a whack ass show. Some promoters just want to sell booths and bottles and get tickets at the door and flip their money. It takes everybody working hand in hand. Teamwork makes the dream work. But there are so many janky promoters, janky club owners, and then you get a janky artist too, and then it's just a janky show, and it does nothing but hurt your fans. And I'm a firm believer that nightclubs and shows and venues, I can be a Moneybagg Yo fan if I'm not taking my small age child, 10, and when I say small age, I mean like 10 to 15, 10 to 18, or 12 to 18, to any nightclub to see someone perform because they know the song, and that's, they're a big fan. But you see that nowadays, you will see, oh, well, I'm bringing my son. He a big fan. He know all the words, and you brought your kid to this, and like it's just wild. Like, and the reason I bring that up because it was the Moneybagg. It was she was like, he threw fake money on the stage, and I was like, why? Why would you even there to collect money that he was throwing on the stage anyway? Why did you talking about my son is in the back seat upset? Why did you even have your son at a nightclub? Like, it's just the type of parents that we got now is just wild. So
I think the nightclub thing is crazy, but I will say that I can understand you being like, yo, do I want to go to a giant concert where I'm on the other side of the fucking stadium and I paid like $200 something for these tickets? Or do I want to be at a smaller venue? I could like possibly, speak to him or just see him a lot closer up. So I can kind of get that. I do think taking your kid is wild. But like you said, nowadays, these parents, who knows? Because even at that Astroworld festival, I didn't expect them to have like so many kids there either. They were talking about like 10-year-olds, 8-year-olds and shit. I'm like, what are y'all talking about? And y'all knew about to be one of those like, we about to mosh, we about to be crazy, we're about to be like, at no point did I ever think people are going to be well behaved at a Travis Scott concert at any point in his journey, so I will say that is some wild shit.
That's kind of a thing with modern parents in general, though, that I'm noticing is they're like just way more lax on the type of music that their kids are allowed to listen to, period. Like, I remember growing up, if it had the parental advisory sticker, I was not allowed to listen to it, and that was it.
You had to buy that stuff from Target.
They didn't have to know. They were like, no, there's a reason, there's a warning on there. No, you can't buy it.
Yeah, you have to buy that shit from Target.
That was that. And then the first concert that my pops ever took me to. It was a rap show, and it was at a smaller venue. It's called the Fox Theater in Detroit. If you ever saw the Mike Epps comedy stand up that he did in Detroit, that's where that was. So it's a decent size, but it's not huge. And it was The Roots and Common and I think Slum Village. So it was like not conscious rappers necessarily, but like backpack rappers. You know what I'm saying? Like sort of conscious, like more on the backpack side. Definitely not gangster rap. So that was the first show. He was like, you can go to this because this isn't crazy. You know what I mean? And then, you know, once I was 18, it's like, all right, nigga, you know, go where you want to go. You grown now. But
I think it's also because there's not as many gatekeepers. Like before, like you said, you literally had to like ask your parent to go buy the explicit tape for you, or had to ask your older cousin or some shit. You know, you had to finesse to get that shit. Nowadays,
Eric told me a funny story the other day because Eric, you know, he does some driving. You know what I'm saying, as a side gig. So Eric, tell them what you told me about the family that got in the car and you gave the little girl your auxiliary cord.
Man, this black family gets in my car, right? This little girl, I could just tell off the rip that it was going to be something wild, because she gets in the car. I say, hey, how you doing? She goes, hi. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's one of those. And then the whole family gets in the car. I drive off. She goes, can I see the plug? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, I could play music. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. She starts playing Sexy Red, Ice Spice, like all of this stuff. But I'm talking the explicit versions, and she knows all the words, singing them word for word in the back seat with both parents, and they are just letting it happen. They're just letting it happen.
Yeah, so this is crazy about the Sexy Red. I'm looking for the hoes.
Yeah, like
literally, because it came in my email about 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago, they just dropped the edited version for the mix show DJs for the radio. They just made an edited version of this. Like that wasn't even presence of mind to even come do it first. Like they That's just crazy. Like, oh, you know what, we might need an edited version of this. So now that there is an edited version of Looking for the Hoes, because now everyone knows the song. But
how do you put that on the radio? Like if it were to be on the radio, because I haven't heard it on there yet. Can you even say ho?
So I remember when I had my college radio show, and we were regulated by the FCC. So one of the things that I was able to do on my radio show was if I was a production person too, so I could edit my own songs. Mm-hmm. So one of the I remember, and it was songs that you could hear on the radio that had the explicit version. So this bitch, that hoe, like you couldn't say hoe on the radio, but bitch was okay. So, but you know, it was questionable. You know, it was questionable. Yeah. So what I would do on the edited version, I would literally highlight the wave and take out the B. So it was on that song when I edited, it was this itch, that O. So like you knew what it was saying, but it was like if you played it down slow, it's like, oh, they didn't cuss on the radio, and they didn't cuss on Mr. Marcus show. Like they were playing the edited version.
Oh, okay. So it would be like, I'm looking for the O.
Yeah. So like that. Now radio has gotten, you know, since the whole Janet thing, you know, it's a dump button. So you'll hear like them just press the dump button while the song is playing. If they play the edited version, they'll just play the. So do y'all remember the live broadcast era of radio?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And I had a radio show too, and we had to dump a few times. My co-host did not get that list down. I was like, you cannot say these words, and the first two words come out their mouth is behold. You go, okay, all right, dump. Yeah, I know exactly.
So immediately off the airwaves. Goodbye.
Immediately, like I was looking like somebody gonna call me right now, even though our show is hella late. Somebody gonna call me and be like, "Oh, cut this shit off right now."
Yeah,
because someone is always listening that you
the live
will never hear it.
Started at 10 o'clock. So you would, and that was where the club you wanted to be at. So shout out to a DJ here called Playboy Mix. Playboy Mix was one of the live DJs. I mean, one of the live broadcast DJs at this club called Onyx. So when he would play during the radio set was his edited mix and the live. And then when the production would go to commercial, because they still had their regular breaks, that's when he in the club played all his unedited stuff. But then, when the host would grab the mic and he knew we were back on air, he go back to his edited mix. So the people in the club they knew it was a live broadcast, but they really weren't affected by it. And you in the radio, you riding around listening, you like, oh shit, they lit at the, like, I'm trying to go to Onyx. Like, I'm getting ready, I'm finna go down to Onyx and see what's popping because the mix is cracking right now. And then the 12 o'clock DJ who would come on, and that was another thing about the radio DJs. The 12 o'clock DJ who would come in the club, he might not even had all of the edited songs to even do a live mix on the radio. So that's why he wasn't on the radio. That's why he was the 12 o'clock to 3 a.m. DJ. Because he didn't have the edited music to play during the 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock segment. So, the era has changed so much. And you got to control your mix shows too. That was when PDs had power and less things were forced downstream. You could play a lot more seamlessly what you wanted to, or what your crowd or what your demographic. But let's remember how Khaled came about too. When Khaled used to say, I broke a record, that was the worst club experience unless you were that artist, because Khaled would replay that bitch literally 20 to 30 fucking times a night. And
they said something about Flex by
I was just
said the same shit about
it. Back to back to back to back to back to, like, that shit gets old.
It does.
How many bombs?
It helps the artist, and it forces people to be like that if you hear it too many times is a real thing. Like, all of a sudden you're singing it. Like, I was singing I don't like that song Good Good by Usher and Summer Walker. Why my dumb ass been walking around here? We ain't good, but we still good. Like, you hear it so many times. Like, it's a real fucking thing. So I get it. Like, it's smart. It's that marketing shit. It's like, you might not like this shit, but I'm gonna play this.
I had the same realization with that song.
Right?
And you even have it and you don't even know it just off social media. What's the shit going around right now that everybody's doing that's crazy? Nationwide is on your side. Like, what the fuck? And
I have no idea where that even came from either.
Like, and the O'Reilly
girl singing some Nationwide commercial for no fucking reason. Like,
why are you talking about auto parts? Why are you talking about O'Reilly's auto parts? Like, why is that your content? Like, and the people, like, you can't drive, let alone if your car has CarPlay, there's no reason that you are in an O'Reilly's Auto Parts looking for anything if your car has CarPlay. There's you don't need a bug. Right. You don't need it.
You really don't.
The only thing you need is a fucking air freshener.
Hell no.
Really quick, guys. We're like, the show's about to end pretty soon, but there's like two things I have to ask you guys really quick though. So one thing is, if you're gonna go to a live performance, how do you determine if it's a good performance? Like, for me personally, you have to have good stage presence. Like one of you guys were talking about, I personally like to hear you rapping and stuff, especially because you are a rapper. Like, if you're a singer and I kind of know your vocals aren't the best, or your vocals aren't the best that night, we might need to have a little bit of that auto in there, or like a little bit of your studio shit. But if you're a rapper, I want to hear you like really go in, at least a few times in your performance. And then crowd participation. I think like you having like that interaction with the crowd makes a big difference. So those are the things that I have to have for me to consider it a good performance. Marcus, what about you?
I would piggyback that and agree, and I would use the artist T-Pain as an example, because T-Pain, you're used to the auto-tune T-Pain as what you know. Mm-hmm. But now hear this. T-Pain live performance, T-Pain can fucking sing.
And he can dance his ass off.
And he can rap. So like seeing T-Pain live is something totally different than the T-Pain I'm accustomed to, because it's no auto-tune, or he performed the auto-tune, then he performed the same song without auto-tune. And I'm like, this is something I've never heard. And this is actually good. This is not the version that I came to see. And that's a good performance, you know. So he seamlessly integrated the two. Whereas some people in their studio sessions, oh, you don't need to pay the promoter and security. You need to pay your engineer to be on stage, because your engineers who fucking made your sauce and made your shit that 100. That's who made you famous.
Yeah, and they don't want to talk about that shit. You're right. And I'm glad you said T-Pain, because that's one of my top favorite performers. You're so right. People sleep on him because of that auto-tune shit, but they don't know. Like you said, he got the voice, he got the dance moves, he's got the energy. So you're right. Yeah. You're right on the head with that one. All right, Eric, what about you? What do you have to have?
I agree with all of y'all, and I think the only thing that I would add to that is for me, when I go see a live show, I like for the performer to basically make the crowd feel like we're one big ass family for that hour and a half that he's on stage for. Yeah. So I think everything that we've talked about pretty much encapsulates all of that, because that artist could be having a shitty day on stage. He could be sick, whatever the case may be. But if he's up there giving it his all, if he's up there selling that performance and we're buying into it the same way that we would if he was perfectly healthy, then I think that just makes for what we would all consider a great night out.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, so we talked about some, more serious topics. I feel like we have to end on a really nice, light note. So this one is, you don't got to be too serious about this. This is just something that I realized I had to ask you guys before we close this up. Are there any artists that are still performing today that you're like, yo, hang it up? Either like that song is old as fuck, or you're like, wow, I'm surprised he's still performing. For me personally, when I think about that, I had to think of Young Jock. I saw it was some recent episode, like maybe last season or so, of Love and Hip Hop, and Jock was like, yeah, I got this performance about that, and I can't even hold you. I was like, somebody gonna go see Young Jock live? Like, no shade, but it was just like, we still doing it. What is it? You can find me in the trash. It's going that, like, we still doing that nowadays. But there are some artists that I'm like, no, I don't care how old you get, how old the song gets, you better show up. So that was one thing that I had to ask you guys. Is there anybody that you're like, yo, hang it up?
So I don't have a hang it up artist.
Okay.
I still want to see it performance.
Okay, that's fair.
And all of the artists from the Crunk era, because Crunk is dead right now, can still fucking perform, because like when you hear like you instantly just I wouldn't want to go see Jock. I can't say that I would, but if Scrappy was with him, I'm going to go see that show, because
if Crime Mob is there, I'm gonna pop up.
Oh, what?
I pop the fuck up. You're right. You made a good point.
Right, that's exactly so Crunk. If it's a
Little Scrappy's there, I'm in there.
Absolutely.
No way.
I will never forget the Dub Car Show. Fucking Bone Thugs and Harmony was there. And I'm like, oh damn, we at the Dub Car Show, we see them, and they did fucking Thug Love on stage, and like that was it. Like I was like, and then the entire crowd knew Pac's verse. Because I mean, clearly he's not there. Yeah. But it didn't matter. Like when his verse came on, I caught a plane out to Cleveland late last evening to help my niggas clean up some niggas. Like the whole crowd, and then the whole crowd came in and did that whole verse, and it was like I saw Thug Love live with Bone Thugs, and that was performing. So like if you're a Crunk artist, I don't think you can hang it up. I think I wanted to say Busta. And because he got winded, because I was like, because on his lifetime I was like, oh, this ain't the old bus. But now you see him. But hold on, now you see him perform from his lifetime achievement to his shows now, and he getting it back. So So if
He's
he would
dropping an album soon too.
yeah, if he would have got his lifetime achievement at the end of his little performance run, you would have been like, it's a live show. It's cool.
Yeah.
They worked out the kinks,
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I love those picks. You're right. Bone Thugs is still touring right now. I know that one of the members, I think was it Crazy? I think Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy ended up in the hospital, but right before that, they were doing full tours, and yeah, I think they're probably going to jump right back on tour once he's fully healed up. So that's a really good pick because you can actually go still see them right now. Eric, what
about you? Okay, so I'm glad this is at the end of the show because then I won't now I won't catch too much slack from this person because I don't think in a million years that this artist would ever hear this. But because he is known to pop off on people on the internet, I do not want to be hitting the crossfire. So I'm glad that this artist is being mentioned at the 56, well, almost 57-minute mark. Anyway, for the pure absurdity of it, why does Soulja Boy still perform? Why does he still perform?
He make it clap, yo.
Like,
I don't know. But he gets some people
Soulja Boy performs the same 6 to 8 songs every single year, and we just let him get away with it. He will always perform "Crank That." He will always perform "Kiss Me Through the Phone." He will always perform "Make It Clap." There's a few others that I'm leaving off this list, but it's the same songs, and it's been this way. It's been this way for basically since he came out, and we just continue to let him do it. So that's my guy. That's my guy that I'm picking because I just don't. The absurdity of it is just it's amazing to me.
Yeah. No, I mean I think I don't know what it is. You're right. Like I never even thought about it. Part of me is like, is it because he was a first of so many things? Crank That was such a huge thing, and especially for like the online, like the video and YouTube community, that was such a big deal. The making a dance to a song, that was a big. So I can understand why he still performs those for sure. But you're right. Like if he hadn't made Make It Clap, I honestly wouldn't have been thinking about Soulja Boy, especially for him to be making an appearance or a performance. But I think he's smart in that every once in a while he'll drop something that like even though it was a little bit, I will say I felt like the song was lazy, it was catchy. Like She Make It Clap was just catchy. So it kind of is one of those, we mentioned it earlier, you hear it so many times, you kind of just fall up in that. I think he's really good at making a catchy ass song. Either you're gonna dance to it or he's gonna kind of bop to it. But that's a fair point. I will say Soulja Boy is definitely giving low effort, and he's
not low effort.
He's giving low effort.
Hey, who did he do that versus against?
Oh shit, I don't even know. Who did he have a versus against?
Because he had a versus. Who did he do it against? Was it Bow Wow?
I
was going to say that.
I think it was Bow Wow. I'm pretty sure it was Bow Wow. But anyway, he did that versus, and he performed the song "We Made It" with Drake, but he let the whole song play until it got to his verse, and then he started rapping. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but if anybody remembers that, go try to look up a clip.
I'm gonna go look it up
because that is not a short song. It's not short. It's a long song. There's 3 verses on that song, and then the hook is not a short hook either. I don't know what Soulja was thinking when he just rapped only ad-libs and then tried to rap along to Drake's part, and then made the DJ play it all the way until his verse till he started rapping. But yeah,
that motherfucker
get some boy off the stage, my guy.
He probably was like, I got 6 fucking songs, I got 8 fucking songs that are gonna be real bangers. We're gonna stretch this Drake out one for as long as we fucking can. So yeah, he was up there probably just trying to fill up time. We've seen it before in some performances for sure. But definitely a good pick. I agree with that one for sure. But thank you guys for joining me in this conversation. Thank you for everybody at home who's watching, who's listening. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and check us out every week on Mondays for a new episode on Ethos Media YouTube page. And we will see you guys on the next one. This is Bar Exam. Bye, guys.